Coming up, lots of entertainment. What was it like to work with the master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock?
It's all in this new book. We'll talk with the Westchester author next on Daytime.
Hitchcock was one of those rare Hollywood directors who controlled all facets of its movie making, from story concept to final editing. Yet he often got help with his screenplays. Hence the title of the new book, Writing with Hitchcock, the little-known story of how John Michael Hayes collaborated with Alfred Hitchcock. To talk more about this is the film historian, also a screenplay writer himself, author, Westchester resident, Stephen DeRosa. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Matt.
And good news on the book. You good review in the New York Times?
Yes, yesterday we just got a good review in the Times, so everything's looking up.
How's it going on Amazon?
The numbers have really jumped up there now.
Yeah,
so that's great.
That'll make a difference. Now, I took film courses in college. Everybody did. It was always seemed to be an easy way out,
right,
but an enjoyable way out, one way or the other. And they always talk about Hitchcock as being one of these directors who did it all from start to finish. So I was a little surprised to hear about John Michael Hayes collaborating with Hitchcock.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's one of the myths about Alfred Hitchcock, is that he did everything himself, and it was his sole creative genius that made such memorable motion pictures. But the fact is, he had writers such as John Michael Hayes and quite a number of other ones who worked very well with him and made all the movies that we love.
We can see some of the sort of imprint of somebody like Hayes, because if I just go back, I know that Alfred Hitchcock made very, very sophisticated black and white movies. I mean, he had Notorious with Cary Grant and Sabotage, but then suddenly he moved into color, widescreen. He seemed to be all over the world, as in we just saw the clips from The Man Who Knew Too Much.
That's right.
But also To Catch a Thief with Cary Grant and Grace Kelly, and some of the others that John Michael Hayes worked on.
Well, two of them that you mentioned, The Man Who Knew Too Much and To Catch a Thief, Hayes wrote both of those. He also wrote for Hitchcock Rear Window.
Oh, my goodness.
Which was the first film that they made together. And that really marked a turning point in Hitchcock's career, to that widescreen, Technicolor, sophisticated look. What had happened when Alfred Hitchcock came to America, he started working for David Selznick, and the films he was making with him, they were kind of dark and a little gloomy. And when Hitchcock left Selznick to form his own production company, Transatlantic Pictures, it flopped after 2 pictures. That went under. He started working for Warner Brothers, had a little bit of a touch-and-go relationship there, and after that, the first film he made for Paramount was Rear Window with John Michael Hayes, and everything took off from there.
Now, John Michael Hayes is not a nobody. I mean, I was just, when I read the book, to realize he had authored 1,500 radio mystery screenplays.
That's right. Before becoming a screenwriter, he was a radio writer. He wrote for detective shows such as The Adventures of Sam Spade, Richard Diamond, Private Detective, Suspense, and Hitchcock was a big fan of the radio. And so when it came to writing Rear Window, Hitchcock called for John Michael Hayes specifically, just for that. But he had also written movies before writing Rear Window.
But Rear Window, I mean, that's a classic. In fact, I went out to rent it this weekend. I couldn't do it because it was already out. And it's on a lot of people's lists. Sometimes it moves from the classic section over to the, one of the great movies of all times as well.
That's right, absolutely. I think it was number 42 on the American Film Institute's list.
Now, what made the real difference when John Michael Hayes? What's really his imprint?
Well, Hitchcock's films they're known for their devices and the big set pieces, and Hitchcock, of course, is the master of suspense. That's what he's most famous for. But John Michael Hayes brought to Hitchcock character, the warmth of character, and he really, one of the things that he brought specifically to Rear Window was aspects from his own life. The Lisa character, the Grace Kelly character in Rear Window, was largely based on John Michael Hayes' own wife, Mel, who was a fashion model. And he brought everything from his own relationship with her. When he was, before they were married, he was trying to put their relationship off until he was more successful in screenwriting. And she wanted desperately to get married to him. And this aspect he brought into Rear Window, where Grace Kelly wants to get married to Jimmy Stewart, and he's putting her off. Like, who would want to put off Grace Kelly?
Right. Well, yes, that was a stretch. But so we can see sort of that somebody who writes for radio really relies on dialogue and, sort of the psychological aspects. That's good.
Well, that's why they were a perfect blend, because Hitchcock was the master of the visual and John Michael Hayes was just absolutely brilliant at dialogue, so they were a great team.
Well, I know it broke up later. We won't tell people, but they obviously Hitchcock and Hayes had a parting of the ways. But more importantly, I want to find out what you've got something coming up at the. Give me the name of this museum.
It's the American Museum of the Moving Image. This Saturday, November 3rd, there's going to be a screening of Rear Window. It's one of the restored prints from 2000 that they made, and I'm going to be signing books there at 5:30 p.m. This is in Astoria.
Right. Is that in one of the old spots that used to be the movie? Because Astoria was movie capital.
That's right, the Kaufman Astoria Studios. They're still there. They're still operating. And there's a fine museum there, so people should come by, see what they have at the museum, and stay for the screening of the film.
Great. Stephen DeRosa, thanks very much for being with us. And we'll tell the people once again, you have to get on Amazon.com in a hurry or they'll run out of this thing. It's the book called Writing with Hitchcock, the collaboration of Alfred Hitchcock and John Michael Hayes. And stay with us as we continue our entertainment theme here. A conversation with Gregory Hines, Talking Tap, just 2 minutes away from now on Daytime.